Hello and welcome to this introductory video on my new series, Programming Polyglot. In this series I'm going to be doing live programming, so with an actual live stream, even though you can also watch of course all the episodes afterward on my YouTube channel. The idea is that in each episode I'm going to use a new programming language, ideally one that I have little or no experience with myself, and together with you, the audience, I'm going to explore what the language is like, and I'm going to build a real-world-esque application in each episode. The idea is that in each episode I'm going to build essentially the same application. Of course it's going to be looking very different depending on which language is chosen. So what I want to do in this short introductory video is not start programming yet, but outline to you what the application is going to be about and other information that should be interesting. So the first one is that I'll be publishing all the stuff that I programmed live on screen in this public Git repository right here. There's going to be a directory for each episode as well as a branch, such that you can check out all the stuff locally and maybe even run it on your own machine if you so please. Let's now check out what the application that I designed is going to look like. Of course, it's a toy application of sorts, such that you can even fit it in a live stream. But I made some short requirements for it, such that we can have essentially the same application each time, as I already outlined. Let's now check out the application that I designed and the accompanying requirements that I'm going to be implementing in each of the live stream episodes. As you can see right here, it's going to be a web crawler. If you have absolutely no idea what that is, no worries, it's going to become very clear and obvious throughout the explanations. So the idea is that you supply it with a URL, any link on the World Wide Web. In this case, I chose that we're going to start with the link to the project's homepage, project in this case being the programming language of that episode. So all the examples right here are with Kotlin. So what you're going to do is supply this URL as the starting point, the seed you might also say. And then we're going to do the following thing. We're going to request the website and thus get back its HTML code to then do the following thing, which is figuring out all the links that we have in the website and saving them in some way, such that we can then later do the following thing. So let's quickly go actually on kotlinlang.org to show you what this would look like. So we have the website right here. Of course, behind that is the HTML, such that things like this here, developed by JetBrains, so you can see this as a link. This of course points to the website right here with this A tag. If you ever did HTML, this is all quite boring to you probably, so I'm not going to bother you any longer with it. So we collect all of the A tags on a website, that's the first step, and essentially collect them in a list or set or something. Then the next thing we're going to do is parse them such that we can figure out what each part of the URL is and put it in some sort of a data structure, an object, a struct, whatever the language might offer. Right. So this is how a URL is built. You have the protocol, of course, any subdomains can be multiple, the domain name itself, and the top level domain, so the ending right here. This together is also called root domain, which we're probably going to store as well. So this will then give us these data objects right here with the stuff probably parsed apart, such that we can continue with the next step, which is going to be to do a breadth-first traversal through what essentially is now a tree. This might sound a bit confusing, but if you think about it, what essentially happens if you look up all the links on a website, let's say our starting point is number 1 right here, the kotlinlang.org, you will find that it points to a bunch of other websites, right? But a bunch of other URLs. So this would be 2, 3, and 4. Those again point on other things, right? And as you can see then, this essentially builds this tree or web, if you want, in World Wide Web. That can be traversed in different ways. So of course the one thing you could do is follow a link and then follow all its links. So you go depth first, but what we're going to do, because it's a bit more interesting and leads to more interesting other websites you find usually, is breadth first, such that we go, we first check out all of the links on kotlinlang.org. So 2, 3, 4, in the example here, play.kotlinlang.org, JetBrains and github.com. And open those and again collect all of the links on that side, right? So it's a loop, it's a recursive of sorts, and only then go to the next level. So we're going to traverse the tree like this. And while we're doing that, we're going to be collecting some sort of statistics. And that's actually the final step already. I mean, doing this probably with a language you've never used or very little is already going to be quite a task. Let's see how it goes. And then I'm going to print some statistics. So this could be which root domains were seen how often. So how often did we see github.com? It's quite interesting, right? Because if you think about these links to github.com, but then from there you go infinitely deep essentially into the World Wide Web. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Which pages do you see how often? Of course, we'll expect the more popular ones to be seeing more often, but maybe there's also some really weird ones that are linked at some point. Another thing you could do is which top level domain is seen how often. So probably .com is the most common, but also be interesting how common the others are. And or another thing, as you see here in the example, is see how many use secure HTTP and how many use regular HTTP. Whatever, there can be plenty of statistics to print out at the end. And that's essentially the toy application. Idea being that this fully works, that you can actually run this. So you just give it a URL, starting point, the project's homepage of the language, and you just kick it off and run it, and it then does its own thing. And after a specified amount of time or pages it crawled over, it prints out some statistics, or every few seconds or something like that. Yeah, that's going to be the project I decided on. If you have some other suggestions, I'd be very open and glad to hear them out. And of course, if you have some ideas or wishes for languages that I should look at, it can also be very lesser known or maybe obscure one. I'll put it on my list and probably go through it sooner or later. Idea is that I do not prepare myself a lot, so I will have a quick look, of course, if this is generally possible, but I'm not going to implement it before the stream. Idea is really I want to explore the language together with you live. So, but I'm going to do a quick analysis, of course, if it's feasible, right? If it's or if it's really almost impossible to do this. So it has to be at least a bit of a higher level language. That would be probably one requirement. But apart from that, I'm trying to read as little about the language as possible. It's just going to be a very basic analysis, possible, not possible. That's it. Right, I think that's pretty much it. Of course, as I mentioned, it's going to be a live stream, so there's also a bit of a live stream character. Things will go wrong, I'm very sure. Yeah, that's just, I guess, interesting to know. Right, thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in one of the first live streams. And yeah, please leave me any comments if you have any questions. Consider subscribing to the channel, and I see you in the first episode of Programming Polyglot very soon. Tschüss.